It is 5:40, and we're going to call the meeting of the Energy Committee to order. Let it be known for the record that I was 10 minutes late. This is an open public session and is subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. And once again, we'd like to say thank you to our one viewer on YouTube, so that I'd like to acknowledge them. So going through today, we have several things we need to chat about. It's our first meeting since the vacation, since the holidays. So we've received the information from the Veritas review of the town's buildings and facilities. And yesterday I sent out, hopefully I believe to everyone here but Susanna, a copy of an assessment.
You want me to make a copy for her?
Yeah.
Wait, okay, I was gonna say, it could be electronic.
Kind of a view of that, and what was done. Oh, wait till Amy's back here, but to fill everybody in who hasn't seen it, what was done is I took a look at the information, took a look at the payback cost and overall complexity of the jobs, and stack ranked them primarily by their payback period and how much energy they would save. Did find one error in the report. I think I sent that to you. They greatly overestimated how much savings that we would be getting from the old fire station, like to the tune of $10,000 or more. They were assuming like $5 a kilowatt hour. So they clearly made some kind of mathematical mistake. Looking at the calendar for the Green Communities Grant Program, the expectation for the spring round of grants to open up is later this month, with a filing date of approximately April 12th. It hasn't yet been firmly established, but that is what's listed on the web page right now. What I am recommending is that we propose a relatively modest but very achievable grant proposal for spring. It would be about $20,000 that we'd be seeking, and it would be primarily focused on weather sealing, general building envelope improvements, and things like insulation, several of the items that were specifically called out by Veritas. These are kind of gimme projects. It's the kind of thing that you'd see Mass Save doing, something like that. Additionally, why it was attractive is because it would target the public library as a memorial library, as opposed to buildings that we've actually been in before. We haven't done anything for the library, to my knowledge. Through
Well,
the
we brought them storm windows.
So, okay. So if we got them storm windows, why was Veritas saying that we needed to get storm windows again?
I have no clue.
All right. So
Maybe they didn't put them up. Maybe they got them, but they didn't install them.
Sitting
that would be
somewhere in the
classic.
room.
So we should check that. But
Yeah.
at the very least, there's some really simple things, like adding
And they
insulation.
had decent payback.
And they had decent payback.
That's
associated.
what I went, that
Yeah.
influenced me.
Yeah, so there were about approximately $86,000 worth of lighting upgrades to address basically things like this. The fluorescent lights. These fluorescent lights are running, I would guesstimate, 10 to 12 watts right now, so the difference between a fluorescent and an LED is relatively minimal, and that's what drove those payback periods up to 11 or 12 years.
We actually already started replacing these
Okay,
with the LED bulbs.
all right, so good. I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
that's what we should, in my opinion, I think that's what we should continue to do, is just as these burn out through our normal, business as usual replacement process, we get to it that way. I mean, over a course of a 10 to 12 year payback period, I'm guessing most of these bulbs will
I
burn out.
don't know what's involved in converting them. I don't know if you have to have an electrician or,
We actually got the bulbs, I guess, that didn't have any
Yeah, I was wondering because
requirement to change anything.
once upon a time, the ballast that drove these weren't compatible with LED lights. I think they've solved that. That's the impression I'm getting, that it's just,
replacing
click.
one.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like you would
Then
do any
no
fluorescent.
problem. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward in that respect.
So do you have to have an updated energy plan? Did I read it correctly? That's, you'd go back to Guardian to write this?
Yeah, so the way that in the past we've done this, and this is actually something we probably need support on or input, is that in the past we would usually commission someone like Guardian. It was Guardian last time. They would do the facility audit. They would put a list of recommendations for each facility, and then we would choose a menu of those in order to put a grant proposal in, and then it was either rejected or accepted, and we went from there.
Okay.
Since we used Veritas, what I don't know for certain is whether they would be considered an acceptable engineering source for the DOER. Guardian has a status associated with them that they're accepted into the program, that they've been vetted
They've
through.
been vetted, yeah.
So, what I don't know, but here's what I think is supposed to happen and not what I know. What I think is supposed to happen is that we would give Guardian a list of, this is the recommendations we had from our engineering team. Please conduct a site visit and quote it. And then come back to us with what you feel that would need, what would be the cost, and that would become the basis for our grant proposal.
And you would have to give them a date that we need it by.
We would have to instruct them that we are seeking to go
I mean,
for
for a lot of
spring.
this, what I've found over the years is what they give you is boilerplate.
Yeah, I would suggest that in order to meet an April 12th date, we would like to have Guardian out here within the next month. And then there would be a 2 to 3 week period where we would formulate an actual grant proposal for submission on the 12th.
Okay.
Given that the proposals, or at least the pieces that I've highlighted in that email,
Yep.
are pretty straightforward and definitely within their wheelhouse, I would expect that they would either be able to either blind quote that or potentially be able to conduct a single day's worth of visits and say, yeah, we need more insulation here, we need the following size windows. Most of this is off the shelf, not custom. The only thing that we may wish to consider, one, if we've already bought windows for the library, that's a big one, but if we haven't, that is a historic structure, and we probably also want to tie off with the library committee, library trusts, to make sure that, I can't imagine in my heart that the library committee would be too upset that we would say, hey, we'd like to write a grant for you to improve the overall
they'd be like,
efficiency
"No."
and deal with some of the maintenance issues that are in the facility, but we at least owe it to them to talk to them about it.
Well, I would prefer to add them into the grant rather than wait and ask them just because of timing.
That would be my
It's easier to
suggestion.
take something out, but it's very hard to put it in.
Yeah, I would be very shocked, and if they object in some way, we can always go get the
We'll
grant.
send Peg after them.
And then we just simply not execute the piece that they object to.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So who's gonna contact Guardian?
I don't know. So this is for Kristen. We should probably talk about it. Last time we dealt with Guardian, we actually got one of their people fired. I'm not gonna. We are on camera.
And
I'm not gonna go
we
into
threatened to
details,
take
but
court.
we had a bad experience.
Okay.
We reported this bad experience, and it resulted in the termination of the employee who was dealing with us. So I don't know who our current person contact would be.
I think it would be Kristen, only because she's the town administrator.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't even know who to pick up the phone to talk to Guardian at this point.
I used to, in my previous community, work with Guardian, and the gentleman's name is not coming to me right now, but I can get it.
Okay.
And had a very positive experience.
Yes.
Well, we'd had positive
We had
experiences before that.
And that can happen with anyone you
The-
work with, so understandable.
To be entirely fair, the executives at Guardian were extremely unhappy with what we were reporting to them,
Sure.
and they took very swift action. I feel a little bit bad about it, but at the time I did not, because they were not treating the town of Berlin well. So that is water on the bridge. I don't feel that there's any reason for us to not seek out Guardian. They have done extremely good work for us in the past. So I would recommend that we do that. And I believe that they should be the basis for our grant proposal.
I would be happy to remember and find that.
I'll try to
contact.
look too. See if
Well,
it's
you
still
got
out there.
that email from him where he highlighted, so you
Yes.
take the highlighted and just say, you know, can we
She
have
sent it
this by?
today.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to reach out, and
Oh, no.
I will tell you that their response has been quick in the past, which is
figured 'cause
good
you said
because
you were-
that's what you need when
You were
and
on
they
the
get
call.
that response.
I'm like, you probably didn't even get that.
This
I
is
just
cool.
gave him your email.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I realized that was 45 minutes before the meeting, so you probably,
That's-
thank you.
I printed it and I'm
So,
like,
so
That's
for
good
our,
news.
for our viewer, I'm gonna read this. All I'm blind CCing the members of the Energy Committee, we received an $8,500 grant for our insurance company to evaluate our HVAC system and controls and make recommendations at the municipal offices. We'll be getting underway in the next several weeks. I was wondering if weatherization of windows at the municipal offices and or LED light replacement, particularly in the meeting rooms, is on the GC list as it might make good problems. And that was from
We just
Kristen,
covered.
who has joined us here today for our viewers. For the lighting, I think we should probably forego that. But everything else, I think is pretty awesome. So let's talk about this building. So
I live it every day.
Is
we
it-
have
We all
problems
do.
here. And since I'm looking at, of the 6 people in the room, 5 of them are here, or, well, Susanna, 4 of them are here every day or regularly and sure have experienced it.
Yeah, we're enjoying Zoom still.
Yes, so in the wintertime, this facility has difficulty bouncing back from a setback. Like if you were to set back the temperature to 50 degrees, it could take a very long time for it to come up to a habitable temperature. And that's been complained. We have issues with various rooms in this facility being either boiling hot or frighteningly cold. And
At the same time.
at the same time, I haven't talked to Fred recently, but I remember when Dave was here, and even Fred when he took over for Dave, there were several call-outs that existed that like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when people started trickling in here, we would find out that the building was obnoxiously cold in the winter. We know that downstairs we have 3 cast iron boilers that have been in various levels of repair. They're all good. I mean, they're all operational, but they're dated. We've had problems with the hot water, like the chiller return. We've had basically every possible kind of control problem I can think of in this building we've probably experienced at one point or another in the last few years. So my understanding of what Veritas recommended was recommissioning the building. And what I took that to mean was that it would be a comprehensive scrub of all of the control systems, all of the valves, make sure that everything that is operating the HVAC system in here is actually working and doing what it's supposed to do. With an $8,500 and just with an $8,500 helper from our insurance, that makes the $15,000, I think it was like $15,500 cost attributed to us from Veritas more palatable. So it's really a decision that needs to be made, I guess, you guys. Do we take the money, apply it to this task, knowing that there's going to be an incremental cost, and also knowing that in 18 months or 2 years, if we put together a comprehensive plan to change the way we approach HVAC in this building, that we'd have to do it again. So that's the decision that's kind of on the table. If we
Be
were-
more clear about do what again?
So,
You mean?
The
do
recommissioning.
Recommission.
yeah, and the reason why I believe you'd have to do it again is because if we were to take on something like a forced split system or the term's escaping me right now, geothermal system, which is what's being strongly encouraged by the Green Communities team, that's a whole new everything. It's a whole new infrastructure,
Whole new
everything.
system.
And you'd have a whole new control system, you'd have everything. So you'd be effectively through the process of installing, you would be recommissioning the building.
So you would be throwing everything, potentially throwing everything out of whack, and you need the recommissioning to get everything functioning together.
So as I see the calculation that needs to be done is, I believe Veritas put the return on investment, provided we get a 15% improvement, as less than a year. If we think we're going to be doing any kind of major improvements to this building within the next calendar year, it's not worth it. If those are within the next 2 to 3 years, the payback is worth it. That's what it comes down to in my mind. You are limiting the amount of potential return that you could get, but provided that you have the benefits of the 15% efficiency improvement that they quoted us for 18 months, we're probably in the clear. It's probably good money to spend. It's not as great as it could have been, but it's good.
It's the best you can get at this point in time.
It's the best you can get at this point. So you'd be squeezing maybe some additional life out of the system. You'd be hopefully addressing some of it. And then one of the single largest improvements, other than outright replacing the 3 cast iron boilers we have downstairs with a high efficiency condensing boiler, 3 of them, effectively a like for like swap. Is
Still fueled by oil.
So in the email that I didn't send to you,
Yeah,
what it is.
I think I saw that email
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm advocating for more dramatic action than sticking with oil. I'd like to see us to get this on a path that is more carbon neutral. We could talk about, this is actually something I want to talk about too, but there is a successor to the Green Communities program that is already in place. It's called the Sustainable Communities. And we'll set that aside for now, but for the purposes of this discussion, one of the things that is a requirement for adopting this new program is to create a comprehensive plan to get your community to be carbon neutral.
Should we put mini splits in all the rooms?
That's kind of where I'm going. I'm
That
not an
was a
HVAC
joke.
person.
No, I
but
mean, they work best
That-
like that.
That's actually.
Oh, no,
what
I
we
just
talked
had a
about.
mini split installed in my great room, and I am amazed how there's no hot spots, there's no cold spots, and it's quiet.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm feeling like the way to address this, first of all, number one is to bring a professional in who actually knows what they're talking about, other than me, who's an electrical engineer who doesn't. But it seems to me that one of the fundamental problems that we're having in this building is hot-cold problems, lack of the infrastructure to support each and every thermostat that's in each room. You know, when this thermostat calls and
And if
maybe
we're hot up here, then usually the police are the opposite, or vice versa.
other considerations that we have is the chiefs have repeatedly, I know it's on hold right now, but they certainly haven't, the need hasn't changed for a bunkhouse, improved ability. That's one of the things standing in the way to a more professional force. You know, so they've had this whole thing about a renovation in there. Whatever we do has to encompass their plans, because part of the reason why we got into this mess is that we've a little bit of Frankensteining this building. We went from various uses, we reconfigured, we made the zones work, and we never had the ability to start from scratch. I think if you took a more modular approach by potentially putting, if not a mini split, or its effective geothermal equivalent that's off of a primary plant, and allow each individual room to control what is being delivered to them, you could solve a lot of problems. Another problem that I'm aware of, which I don't know, I'm out of date on this, but once upon a time I was told that the cells in the holding area of the police station can get very, very cold because they're on the end of a run. So that's, again, something that could be easily addressed with a more modular approach. For
Would you
example,
start with them?
you might. That would be something that I would be looking for a professional HVAC person to say, is maybe we work our way, maybe you target the second floor. This is where most of the employees work. Maybe you start with public safety. But if you had those kind of design, you could handle the setback things much more easily, right? If this room is unoccupied, you could have it set down to 62 degrees. Motion sensor kicks in. Within 5 minutes, this room would be up to temperature. And that would allow us a lot more flexibility. It would make more sense when we move towards maybe a more modern or looking at an overall control system for the building.
Would you need to? I guess the first question is, an HVAC person would be able to say whether individual mini splits is viable in a building this size for
Correct.
each room. And if they are, would that be an intermediate stage, or could that be the final stage?
Or it could be a partial solution. We just put a brand new air handler up on the roof. Do we really want to walk away from the investment we just made on that? There could be, I don't know. This is, I guess, why I'm advocating for,
Well, you'd want
Pro.
the input of the quote professionals to see, what's a good strategy.
we could potentially be using some of these more carbon neutral and frankly efficient, like mini split type of systems, maybe in just the rooms that are heavily occupied, and we let the rest of the system handle the rest of the hallways and everything else.
And also, like you said, the cells,
Mm-hmm.
we've found now up here, because we moved our office, we're at the end of the run,
Now you're freezing.
and so it's the same thing, either it's really cold or it's really hot because the sun's coming in the windows.
Yeah. So ultimately, to fix this building, you need to increase the number of zones, which means some pretty heavy-duty retrofitting work. Or you need to find the areas that are currently inadequate and provide some kind of supplemental HVAC for it. And I think the true answer is probably a combination of both. It's just, how do you approach this? What time frame do you approach it?
Yeah, how many phases do you
How many
need?
phases? I think that given our capital plan, the constraints on our budget, the availability of grants, I think we could probably deliver grants for a portion of this. I don't know whether, especially as we move into the sustainability, the new sustainable communities program, if they're going to really be interested in buying oil burners. I just don't know. There's too many things I don't know. But what I feel like is, at this point in our understanding, we do not have enough to go to the Green Communities program with a viable grant application.
Okay,
One of the things we had talked about previously, and I'm hoping that we get a second chance at, is talking to Ian of CMRPC. There was an engineering grant that came up periodically, twice a year, I believe. And the problem that we've been having with tackling this building is that you need to have engineering analysis done to understand what you need to do. In order to have engineering analysis, you need to have money, and you can't get grants unless you have a shovel-ready project. So we're caught in this wicked catch-22, and we've been caught here for about 4 years. And granted, this building is doing okay. I mean, we're doing okay, but
Well-
we could be doing better.
is that something you can use, that money that we collected and didn't use because it's
I'd love
part of
to.
our energy program?
I'd love to, under the same rationale that we used for Veritas, we may be able to do that. But we need to think about it, and we need to understand what our options
The
are.
consequences.
Yeah. So that's my recommendation to you. Provided that the board here agrees, that's what I came up with. I think that is the path forward that I think we should pursue. And at that point, I think we've reached a decision point where I feel like we have to do something for spring. It seems silly not to, and that's the path I see as the best.
Okay, so we look to you and see if we can do, if that qualifies?
I think it's a great idea. I think it makes perfect sense and it's very well thought through. I think we can probably get Guardian in short order. One comment I wanted to make in terms of the money we got from the insurance company, that came together in a rather haphazard way. They put out a call every year for what they call risk management grants. And so I send it out and to the department heads and I said, does anyone have a project that aligns with this list? And one of them happened to be an HVAC evaluation, including controls. And I'm not an HVAC expert either, but my office is constantly freezing and I have a space heater running all the time, which I know is dangerous and not a good thing to have, but I'm also freezing all the time. So Fred actually had made the recommendation. So there's a company that came in called TC Controls and they gave the quote. And actually that was their quote to do that whole system evaluation, to make some immediate recommendations, preventative maintenance, and long-term recommendations. So, because the grant was up to 10,000, and they knew that, but they said they could do the whole thing for 8,500. So I kind of liked the fact that they didn't just come back and say 10,000 either.
Yeah. Is there any reason why we wouldn't do that? Can you guys think of any
No,
reason
but do you
at all?
need me to make a motion?
What are we moving to discuss?
That we utilize the grant to get this proposal for the controls.
Okay. So the motion on the table is whether we wish to use the $8,500 from the insurance settlement grant to bring in a third party to evaluate the municipal office buildings, controls, and operation. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries by unanimous, so
Great.
we would love to do that.
And the gentleman's name is Roger McManus, and I'd like to connect him up with you in short order.
Okay, thank you. For if nothing else, like I said, I think it will probably pay for itself relatively quickly, especially because I know they're going to find stuff. And secondly, it's going to arm us with information which will allow us to better formulate a potential grant application going forward.
And the time frame is a little tight, just so you know. We have to have it done by May 25th. So but he said that should be no issue.
I would expect that's probably a couple days worth of work for him. Yeah. So yeah, cool. So I wanted to. So I guess, do we need to move on what we're going to go to spring grants with? Are we going to accept the recommendation that I made in my email that we discussed earlier? What is your sense on that?
Could you sort of fill me in? I'm drawing a blank.
This.
Did
Are we going to do the green or not?
Oh, I spent all my time on that. Yeah.
All right. So, and we can put this as part of our minutes. What we're deciding right now is whether for spring, if we are going to use the projects identified in my email to the committee from Monday, I think it was, morning, and it would comprise outside air temperature reset control for the hot water boiler at the 1870 Town Hall, control air leakage at the public library, replace an external windows, which is effectively storm windows, at the public library, control air leakage at the 1870 Town Hall, install reflective insulation between radiators and external wall, outside air temperature reset controls for hot water boiler at public library, improve overall attic insulation levels at the public library, install energy savers on vending machines where applicable, because I think some of the vending machines here have perishables in there, so we couldn't do that. Replace high-intensity discharge lamps with LED at the public library, and bulb replacements to LED also at the 1870 Town Hall. Total cost is approximately $20,000 that we are going to be seeking from the Green Communities Program. It's a very long motion, but is there a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries with unanimous. So we will be going to the Green Communities Grant Program for those items. The last thing that I had on the agenda before I open up for any other business So I wanted to talk about this new sustainability program. It's called the Climate Leader Communities Program. You can find it on the mass.gov website. Just Google Climate Leader Communities, Massachusetts. And I'll just go ahead and read briefly, both for the people on camera as well as for those who haven't had the benefit to do this. The Green Communities Act of 2008 established the Green Communities Designation and Grant Program, creating the framework for achieving designation status and awarding grant funds to municipalities for energy efficiency projects. Since then, the vast majority of Massachusetts municipalities have voluntarily become designated green communities, Berlin as well, partnering with DOER on hundreds of projects resulting in energy and cost savings. However, the goals articulated in an act creating the next generation roadmap for Massachusetts climate policy and Massachusetts Clean Energy and Climate Plan for 2025 and 2030, CECP, those are enacted by the legislature, pivot the focus from the energy reduction to greenhouse gas reduction. So we've moved from taking our baseline of basically how many BTUs we're using to how much carbon we're putting out into the atmosphere. Climate Leaders Community Certification Program evolving from the Green Communities Program, which implies to me that there will be an eventual sunset date for the Green Communities Program, creates a new voluntary framework for meeting these goals by providing tools and resources to help municipalities reduce their emissions by electrifying non-electric energy uses, oil furnaces, and maximizing the efficiency of buildings and transportation. I'll do some yada 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 here. But this is what it means to adopt these things. And I think it's something that we need to put on this team's radar, to something that we're going to want to consider for the future. To adopt this new program, communities must meet the following requirements. There are 6. Be a green community in good standing. Check. We are a green community in good standing. Have a local body, sustainability committee, energy committee that advises the municipality on clean energy and climate initiatives. Ourselves. Commit to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050 in municipal buildings and operations. So that's getting back to the overall carbon neutral viewpoint. Create a municipal decarbonization roadmap. So it'd be incumbent upon us and this team working with capital planning, Kristen, others, to build a vision of how does the municipal operations of the town of Berlin achieve carbon neutrality.
Does that include vehicles?
5, adopt a zero emission vehicle policy. So yes,
Okay.
it does. It specifically adopt a zero emission vehicle first policy. So I believe the word first is important because there always will be certain vehicles, I'm thinking public safety vehicles immediately comes to mind, for instance, fire apparatus and stuff like that, that there will be a while before they're carbon neutral. And then the final piece is adopt a specialized opt-in building code. When we were a green community, when we were going through in 2012 for our designation, we needed to adopt the stretch code.
We did.
Which we did, which is a prerequisite of us being formed. We have, since that time, I believe there's been an additional code improvement that has been made that Berlin has adopted. This is signaling to me and what I've been able to learn of it, that there will be an additional building code revision that is either in process or will be published that we would have to, optionally, we would have to subscribe to in order to achieve this designation. My experience, what was stretch code in 2012 rapidly became de facto code in subsequent years, so it's really just...
Well, we accepted it about 2 years before it went into the code.
Correct. So even though we would be adopting the specialized code, we would just be an early adopter.
Is there an additional code that, I mean, do we need a warrant article to adopt this?
I don't know if we're there yet. I think that this is something that we should be putting on our 12 to 18 month kind of roadmap to get
I
there.
know, but the warrant closes February 12th.
It wouldn't be this one. I would be
We'd
targeting
do
either
it for the
fall town
next-
meeting or potentially even the following spring.
Okay.
I don't think we're ready to do that. There would need to be some outreach, because my anticipation of what this code is going to be, increasingly doubling down on removing impediments to any kind of siting for green energy, which we already do, but I'm talking a little bit out of my behind because I don't know what's in the code. But given what's being signaled by the legislature, given what larger communities like Boston are doing, for example, one of the things that the city of Boston did is that new construction can't have oil furnaces anymore. They
Well,
basically
usually when they tell you, when they talk about this, they tell you what
They will.
your warrant
my
information is.
there is in this webpage, which I can send to everybody. They had a webinar in October of last year, and they had slides from that. So I think they are still very much in the planning stages of this. I imagine that you
actually
have
started.
some leader communities who are probably met their green community commitment 5 years ago, and they've been chomping at the bit for.
Yeah, well, a lot of the larger communities have dedicated
Correct.
staff to this.
Correct. So there is this, I'm not on the internet, but they do have subsections within this webpage that itemize further details on each one of these. I'll get
Could
on
you
there.
send that around? I'd be curious.
I absolutely will. Like I said, it's under mass.gov/info-details/climate-leader-communities, but I'll send you the link. Also, if you don't have the Veritas files, I have them with me here today, so I can give them to you if you weren't able to pull them down.
I'm all printed.
You're good? All
I
right,
haven't.
I'll
I
do
s-
that.
I saw the email. That's
Okay.
all I
All right.
know.
I'll make sure you get a copy of these if you want. I'll just drop it on your
Okay.
machine after the meeting here. Yeah, so there's no action to be taken at this time, I believe, on this. I wanted to put it on everybody's radar that it is coming. It is absolutely the successor to the Green Communities Program, and it will change the way that we approach a lot of our decision-making should we wish to adopt it.
Well, just thinking, if we have problems at the end of the run on the heating system now, then it's logical that we would have, put in a mini split at the end of the run
There seems
to
like
tide you over.
it seems like we could engage, like a lead certified HVAC person and say, this is what we have, this is where our
Our problems
problems
are,
lie, this is what we can allocate on a regular basis through capital planning. Please put together a step-by-step phased plan to get us from where we are today to either a carbon neutral building, or heck, we could even shoot for the moon and go for like a LEED certified building, but let's just baby steps. Let's at least get all of the problems solved. But that's where I'm at from an overall thought
Okay.
process. Any questions on? I can get on the web here quick. Any questions on this new climate leaders or sustainability?
this is the type of stuff I read before I go to sleep.
See?
It's a non-pharmaceutical way to help
So did you
ease
feel
in.
your eyelids getting heavy while I was
Yeah,
speaking?
yeah.
I get that a lot. Yeah, so it's all good. Let's see if I can bring up. So the specialized code, I'm bringing this up, but they tell you how to adopt it. There's a sample town meeting bylaw and motion that they have in here.
Well, if they have something, I think it would be worthwhile to get it on the warrant as soon as possible. You can always find out information between when the warrant is
yeah.
and when you have to present it at town meeting.
So the
If push comes to shove, you can just say, we don't know enough, pass over.
I will yield to your guys' wisdom on what you want to do there. There are multiple definitions in here, and we haven't really socialized this with anybody.
Do they have anything specifically for schools?
Reading and learning as we go here, but I will read you the Sampletown meeting warrant article, and maybe we can pull something out of this. To see if the town will vote to enact Chapter Blah of the Town of Blah General Bylaws entitled Specialized Energy Code for the purpose of regulating the design and construction, so yes, this does sound to me very much like what Boston adopted, of buildings for the effective use of energy and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions pursuant to the entirety of 22 CMR 22 and 23, including appendices RC and CC, including future additions, amendments, or modifications thereto, with an effective date of X and a copy which is on file with Eloise, or taking any action thereto. So we would be fundamentally modifying the way that new construction and potentially, I could see renovations would be conducted in the town of Berlin.
It's not a bad idea, because when I met with Link, they were pretty adamant that Berlin Memorial is at max. It's 230 kids, so I forget how old that building is, 20?
So we'd be looking at,
How
20,
many,
25
how
years?
many school choice are there?
I don't know. I'm just relaying that they have pretty much made the statement that the school is at max, and we might need to start looking for.
Well, then I need to see that, because that's not what my records show. That's the discrepancy.
All right.
I'm
Thank
getting
you.
that there's about 25 spaces from the last update I
Okay.
got, so, from the superintendent.
And I've been working with Kristen and the school, the superintendent, to deal with
That'd
that.
be good to get us all together though, and get us all on the same page.
Yeah, it was John Campbell who was
Mhm.
making the statement, so,
Interesting. Okay.
you know, maybe it's time that we kind of all start
Circle wagons.
circling the wagons and figuring out what needs to be done and planning appropriately.
So to clarify, this warrant article is just to say, we want permission to make these bylaws.
we would be,
You're
Oh, I
adopting-
read
that.
You're adopting a new building.
we would be
code,
adopting a new building code.
Which I think you might want, in my recommendation, to have some public forums on it before you go forward.
I
And you
agree.
need to include the building inspector.
We would have
Chances
to,
are,
you know-
he goes to training, and this shouldn't be a surprise.
It was established in 2021. I'm assuming he's probably heard of it before. But to that point, we have business in Berlin. We have developers in Berlin. They have a stake in this. So yeah, I think we would, without doing the proper outreach, I think we'd go down to town meeting.
Especially if people say, we're enacting something that we've never read.
Right. I mean, we
So-
watched, I'm not going to name names, but we've seen individuals stand up at town meeting and have successfully killed proposals that were not fully vetted.
Correct.
So I don't want us to be killed.
Yeah, that's why my question was, is this just saying we're getting permission to look into this, or is we're
This-
doing
That's
this?
actually-
That, what I
So
read,
doing
if we
it.
adopted that, would be
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, you can give it a different effective date. You don't have to say July 1. You can say January 1 of '25.
I mean, thank you, Peg.
Mm.
That might be something that we want to start socializing. Speaking for myself, I think that taking the time and doing a run-up and maybe missing one town meeting would be time well spent on this one. 'Cause
Maybe.
I don't know if any of our surrounding neighbors, I don't know if Clinton or Berlin, or excuse me, Hudson, or any of our neighbors have adopted this code yet.
Mm.
So if we would be the leader, I would just assume other people get machine gun first.
Yeah, but a lot of people just brush us off because we're small. I just got a brand-new state computer system,
Yeah.
which wouldn't let me in today, but that's a story from another league. And he said he's already done 70 towns, and we're only the third town that got one computer. One computer, a printer.
As opposed to 100, or that we're the first one?
We were 3, and they've done 70 so far, and they gotta do 351. So
To-
most of them have multiple.
To the comment that I think you made, Peg, about schools,
Mhm.
I apologize, but it does say in here, I'm reading some of the background information as we're learning. Municipalities with local public schools shall include school facilities and vehicles into their road maps. So we would also have to work with the joint school committee.
So maybe after budget season, when everyone's a little bit calmer.
Summer project list again?
No, spring.
Spring project
Spring.
list, okay.
Yeah, and it
That
actually,
That you just start with the get-together chats, hey, we're thinking of this, what's your input? Bring your
Mhm.
information so there is no conflict where you think we have spots, but they say nope, we're at capacity list, right? And just start.
Personally, I love it because there were many things that drew me to Berlin.
Mhm.
Being an early or relatively early adopter of green communities was one of them.
Yep.
And I think that dovetails so nicely to be a relatively early adopter of this as well. But I
Yeah.
also think the vetting is important because you're going to have the person who gets up in town meeting floor and says, well, did you speak to the builders, the developers, the stakeholders in the community?
Yeah.
So I think maybe one more year, and then you also give some of the larger guys the opportunity to work out the kinks, and then we don't have to deal with
So
it.
there with you. So there with you. I never.
Is there a copy of these new building codes somewhere?
I'm assuming so, because
Okay.
they quoted chapter and verse in there, so.
And what's the name of this law that you have to accept?
Tim's Law.
Tim's Law.
It's called Tim's Law.
It
Climate
is-
Community Leader, is that what?
This is the Climate Leader
Leader
Communities,
Oh,
is the name of the program.
But
The stretch goal, or the code,
yeah.
is contained within 225 CMR 22 and 33, including appendices RC.
yeah, but is this
and
a
CC.
zoning article or
This is a
general
building-
bylaw?
It would be a building code, so I'm assuming this would be part of the general bylaws of the community. You got- am
I don't know, I can,
So,
I can go on the Attorney General's website, that's what I'm trying to find out. And find out, is it zoning?
no, it's regular.
The only reason why I said that is because I think they said general bylaws in the thingy that I read, so.
No,
Yeah.
CMR is Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations.
Yeah,
So it's not MGLs, which is Mass General Laws.
Okay,
I spent way too much time looking stuff up.
apparently, I'm impressed.
I'm impressed. You're just rattling this stuff off.
Like, dang.
I was in a 10-year lawsuit, so I'm having flashbacks.
So really, we have 6 steps we need to do. 3 of them are completed because we're a de facto green community. 1, the decarbonization roadmap would be ongoing, that would start after we adopt. So that one's done. Really, the only thing that you'd have to do is to have select board issue a zero emission vehicle first policy. And then we'd have to talk about the stretch, or the specialized opt-in building code.
Oh, I wish I had a bigger phone.
That would be the roadmap. I expect that we could probably get through the select board relatively expeditiously. Probably have to have a conversation. We'd want to talk to the department heads, make sure that they understand what's going on.
Mhm.
But it would be forward-looking. There would be nothing. and-
yeah,
and
but
there would
this
be-
is something Kristen can have when she has her departmental meetings
Yeah,
monthly.
it's certainly a conversation that we
Just
can
to-
have.
Just to bring the
start
subject
discussion.
up.
Because we know that, like Chief Shartner, he's having problems with supply chains right now. We know this. To me, based off that, the documentation would go like this. I looked at a zero emission vehicle and I
Wasn't
couldn't get one, therefore I
wasn't
ordered
available.
this.
That's your first option
That's
that you're
your-
looking at.
Yeah, I looked at
And hopefully
it.
can get, but if not, then
Then you go to your second option, when maybe you guys put in some kind of thing that you work through a hierarchy, that you have a plug-in hybrid or something like that. I don't know. I've seen multiple different policies adopted
Mhm.
by different communities. I would just take one that appeals to us and go with it.
Right.
And then set the stage for
Ongoing.
ongoing.
Arm twisting.
Pardon?
No
Arm
arm
twisting.
twisting.
No. You don't twist
Negotiation
arms
and
here.
partnership.
And I think
Oh.
from the opt-in building code piece, this would be a conversation that we could certainly have, with Kelly or any number of people. CMRPC probably knows about this. But like you said, Peg, it was about, or I don't know, maybe it was you, Eloise, that said it was about 2 years difference between when we adopted it and when it became general law.
Yeah.
So
But they gave us extra money because we adopted it
We
early, and we said, thank
absolutely
you
did.
very much.
Yep, so maybe the conversation with the stakeholders in the community goes something like this. This has been enacted. It's coming.
Mhm.
We need to educate you a little bit about what's coming if you haven't heard about it before. And Berlin will be moving on a path to adopt this prior to it becoming required because it enables these benefits to the community.
There's always going to be people who dislike it,
Mhm.
but that's
There
not.
always was.
There always will be. But the goal is at town meeting that you've explained yourself well enough that the majority of residents agree with you and they vote positively.
I haven't read that far into it yet, but if this is eliminating fossil fuels and also eliminating, therefore, propane, which, is that technically a fossil fuel? I think it is. There's gonna be some
I
strong.
believe it's a derivative of gas.
Yeah, so there will.
But I have a propane stove and try to take it away, and
Well, you get into the gas stove wars, you get into,
Yep.
I mean, there's plenty
we have enough other stuff to
There's
do.
Yeah.
plenty of stuff, and that's why I think we let the
They're mostly talking
leaders
oil.
lead on this one and we
Mhm.
follow.
Yeah.
But we should, I would like us to fast follow. I would like to let this become kind of settled outcome and then we jump on it.
Is that something, do you have all your conversations for the coffee talk? Is that something that you?
I think
go-
we should start
Absolutely.
socializing as soon
Because
as
the
possible.
coffee talk that we'll have in April will mainly focus around the warrants, so that people know, so that they're a little bit more educated when they come to vote, or hopefully they'll come to
To
vote.
vote.
7% last year at town meeting,
Yep.
7 whopping percent. So, yeah, we
About
just.
300 people.
200 people, 200
Yeah.
people-ish, town meeting last year, and 100-ish.
Yeah, I think we had
before.
like 192 was the largest vote we
Right.
had, something like
So
that.
you've just put this on the agenda to say, heads up, it's coming. We don't know yet how, and we don't know yet impact, and we don't know yet who we need to be involved, but
It's
we're kind of
coming.
giving you fair warning. Here's the shot across the bow.
So Peg, and Kristen, there is in the webpage, there's a model policy that they suggest for communities to edit and review. So they've already
Sounds
thought
great.
of this.
Nice to have a
Reuse.
jumping off point.
Correct.
Yeah. Um,
When is your coffee talk, in April?
Usually in April, towards the end of April, like.
Yeah, but do
Maybe
we wanna-
you'll have a
would
Guardian
we want to be on that
report
one
by
when
then.
it's chock full of warrant
I guess so.
articles? I'd want to be on a later one.
All right, then we usually don't have, well, I think we have one in June before everyone goes away.
Can't remember.
So
We haven't
it would
set
either
that
be
far
that,
yet,
or
but
yeah,
yeah.
or it would be in September.
Because you'd have, here are the 31 articles we're discussing. And then, oh, by the way, Tim
Oh,
would
by
like to
the way,
talk to you
here
about
comes Tim.
stretch code.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
This
just-
might be coming next year.
This might be coming
Mhm.
next year.
We also could plan for like a 7 o'clock on a select board agenda that's relatively light, where we
Mhm.
could have that discussion for, say, 30 minutes.
Yep.
You could do that. We could potentially,
When do you think we should start talking about the Berlin aggregation?
oh,
They reached out.
they did reach out. Did they say April they wanted to do that indicative pricing?
We have to have everything signed, I think, by September, because it
September, yeah.
becomes effective, I believe, in November. So you have to backtrack. I mean, you want June, July?
What's,
Just to start to get into that mindset on what the numbers are?
Yeah, they gave us, it was like a late spring, early summer, they wanted to start looking at numbers. And then they watch when the best time is to go out to bid.
Yep.
So that's already on their radar, Colonial's reached out knowing that we have to
So-
lock in.
they are,
I found the.
I know,
good.
but with vacations and everything, you want to make sure your key players are there.
So Denise wrote this January 22nd. Our current contract with NextEra ends in November 2024. We've been consistently watching the market and will continue to do so to determine the best time for the town to go out to RFP for its next power supply contract. As you know, there's been a lot of volatility over the last couple of years, and the market has changed since the last time the town went out to bid. As a result, we'd like to start thinking about requesting pricing in the coming months as opposed to late summer, early fall. How much lead time do you think we need ahead of reviewing and potentially signing off on executable pricing? Just for color commentary, the times I've been involved, we've been able to go from indicative pricing to select board acceptance in less than 3 weeks, sometimes much less.
I think 2 weeks is probably
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah, so I know we had chatted about that. They are asking for 2 weeks between the point where we issue the RFP and the indicative pricing. For planning purposes, if we were to contact you and ask to issue an RFP the following week with indicative and/or executable pricing, 2 weeks after that, so 3 weeks lead time, would that be sufficient? I think we all agree that it is. So the question that I guess we're jointly discussing here is, when do we want to indicate to them to start pulling that indicative pricing? And she feels, based on what we just read for our viewer, better in spring than summer. So I don't think there's much to be gained by delaying too much. I think if I were to recommend to you all, I would say we give them the authorization to pull the trigger based on when they think it's the most advantageous to the town.
Yeah, because they're watching.
Yeah, send it to us as soon as possible. I know the last time when we had the two fellows on, they waited too long and it went up a penny a kilowatt hour.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate, but it's a
Still,
learning experience.
It's a learning experience, but we still beat National Grid by handily. So, but it would have been nice to pick up a penny. So do we want to make a decision on that today? We do have this on our agenda to discuss aggregation, but we didn't actually put on the agenda.
Well,
to make a
ask her, I mean, although it's November, can we get favorable pricing in July?
I guess we could make a recommendation, and I guess the recommendation would be.
I would just like to start seeing them just so that I get back into that mindset, that's all.
So are we good with that? Is the intention that we would have here is to instruct Colonial to start watching the market, and we feel prepared to respond when they think it's advantageous?
Well, find out what's the earliest we can respond. I mean, I'm sure they're sending this out to other
Well,
towns.
if we gave them the, pulled the
light.
trigger, they would say, okay, we're gonna go out for indicative
I just want a
pricing.
favorable price
Yeah,
that, this last 3 years, we've been on green energy.
yeah, and I wish to continue that if possible.
Well, that's what you have to tell them is your first choice so that they see it. I mean, if push comes to shove, you only need 48 hours for a special select board meeting.
We did a joint meeting last time and
Yep.
did during the middle of the day. So I'm hearing a motion to do the following. To instruct Colonial Energy to begin monitoring the market for the best possible time to issue an RFP for Berlin's municipal aggregation. Are you guys good with that? Okay, we're gonna, second,
Second,
going to a vote, all those in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Aye, so,
The only thing that I would ask is that we start to get closer, that perhaps they can help us with a little bit more marketing.
yes.
Because people don't seem to understand that everyone was opted in, or am I opted out? And why is
people
my,
have flipped back and
correct,
forth.
why is my electric bill $8,000 this month? Well, mine was only $20, so
Yeah.
I think we need a better.
And then you get the twice a year,
oh my God, the seasonal rate changed in National Grid, and I want to either become part of it or I want to jump off of it.
Correct. So if we can do anything to help better educate the folks in town, you know, personally speaking, and I probably shouldn't say it because I'll jinx myself, every time I see the panic of, oh my God, my electric bill, and I look at mine, I'm like, hey, it's been consistent.
Yeah.
You know, it goes up when I have the holiday lights on, and then it comes right back down.
So, yeah. So, yes, ma'am.
Could I just interrupt for a moment? I thought when we initially went out, they automatically put on Berlin addresses, but then when Highland Ridge came on, they said no, they had to individually line up, which I hadn't known.
Oh, so
They're auto, you mean because they're not notified, they're auto enrolled, right? Once we've selected the aggregation, or are they saying they had to call to enroll?
They had to actually call to enroll.
Really?
because
Yeah,
They,
and
they
before
weren't,
Not
we-
existing as part
they
of the
weren't
bid?
existing at the time.
Then everyone got opted in.
Yep,
yeah.
Okay,
So-
so they weren't on their radar?
because I think the apartments had the same issue.
Yeah. So, you guys good with that mindset?
I like it.
I think we need to just give the power to Colonial. That's what we pay them
Just
for.
go, yeah.
Figure out the best time, get us the best possible rate. We'll make it work.
And I don't know what they normally did. I'm used to seeing letters and postcards and, you know, at least 3
Yeah.
or 4 notifications throughout the process.
They do.
and- Okay, good.
They do, but this is what people do.
Yeah.
Well,
Or maybe when we give them an occupancy permit, we throw a document in saying, we're part of Berlin aggregation, you got a call to be in it.
Mhm.
Well, I would say that the adder that we take certainly would allow us to do a marketing email based off of our own funds, considering that it is absolutely directly related to the municipal aggregation program. So if we wish to do a targeted mailing ourselves, we could do that, but obviously I'd like to rely on Colonial first and foremost, but, you know, if we feel like they missed something or there's an opportunity, we can probably execute on that.
I don't think people just really understood what I'm opted in, opted out. There were quite a few people that I would call, and I would say, grab your bill, go to page 2, halfway down, left-hand side, does it say yes, then you're in.
Well, the
Look over, does it say .12? Yes, you're in.
I would say the majority of our citizens don't realize that their bill is split into 2 pieces because they never get past the first page.
Which is the bill.
Which is how much do I owe?
Correct.
And
Well, maybe we need to also put it on, Berlin Connect or,
yeah,
I
I've
don't
answered
have a
a couple of
smartphone.
times where I say, wait a second, blah blah blah. I thought I was opted in. National Grid sent me this bill, or there's a portion of the bill that says National Grid
Mm-hmm.
cost. It's like, well, I shouldn't have it. He's like, no, you're still paying National Grid to actually deliver your energy. You're just getting the energy from other people.
I'll tell you, there's one piece of mail that people generally don't throw away from the town, and those are tax bills. So if you have the money to
Stuff
put a flyer in with the tax
the
bills,
tax
that's
bills.
generally your most effective way to get the message out. It's just something to think
So
about.
that's certainly something to consider. I don't
well,
think
if once again, I often ask some of the boards, if I know something big is coming up, they can put in a blurb
yeah.
in the
Well,
town
sorry.
census.
I think that since we're going out to bid, we have an opportunity here that there will be a blast email that goes out to everybody. So I think we'll come to a new, the people that were missed will get hit the second time. It's just how do we maintain that as developments come in, as people change hands, as meters go up and down and all that other stuff.
I would say the occupancy,
Seems
as
like it.
occupancy permits are given,
It just gets attached.
Or even when,
make a flyer that says
There you go.
FYI. Here.
Don't they have to have one to be alerted to the right to farm community when they buy a house?
oh,
So.
They send that back to the assessors track that.
So, I mean, there is a way to do it.
I don't know if we'd have the
They
legal
get that
right to
through
do it,
their
though.
realtors.
That's basically
Okay.
putting a marketing thing into a legal document.
Yeah, no, I'm saying somehow they know who needs to get one of those,
Yeah, oh, I understand.
so.
Well, even from, like, if we had a welcome packet to a new citizen, that was something that we could stuff in there and say, hey, here's how you register to vote, here's how you get your, here's.
Yeah, but yes, if, putting it on Berlin Neighbors Connect and Berlin Residents United will get those people that are on Facebook.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the majority of the world now.
It is, but I think that we need to start utilizing other options for Berlin, like our cable access TV.
Our own website.
Stalker, don't hurt me. It needs to be updated with more recent.
Who controls that?
I don't know, but some of the stuff that we're talking about needs to flip on that channel so that people can see it, and you could always post on
So many
Facebook
people
pages,
don't have-
hey, is anybody looking for the in-depth discussion? Head out to the Berlin channel and figure out the timing. So we need to start using those.
Well, I was
Different
just thinking
vehicles.
of when I have to put out, that we're gonna have an open voter registration and early voting, and in the past, Mary did that for me. We'd send it out to her and she'd push it out.
We can still do that.
But I don't know who's doing it now.
We are, through Facebook and the website.
Yeah, well, the
Who?
other one,
Leah.
townofberlin.com. I mean, I have just recently understood now that my town government is way more updated than townofberlin.com. And and I'm on the zoning board now. So I've just figured out that townofberlin.com doesn't get all the information that the other one gets. So it would be nice to have that information on the aggregate, on the .com website.
And we're working on the town website as well. Unfortunately, there was a resident that we had tapped who wanted to step forward and redo it, and then ended up stepping back. So we're looking at other options because we know that website is a wee clunky, not easy to find, not always updated because it's pushed to the individual departments to say,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, most department heads don't
They
have
won't
the
do it.
time to go
Yeah.
on, and
Mm-mm.
I went on and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah,
be
and
one.
also,
Forget
if
it.
you're
Funnel through
trying to
one
do it from
person.
home, you
I
can't
may have
get
found
in,
someone
you
else today,
can't,
by the
even if
way.
you have the
Oh,
passwords, you
good.
can't get through the
Less than
firewall
25.
because you're doing it from home.
Oh, I didn't know
You have to
that.
do it in the office, you have to be in here to do
Okay.
it.
I don't know, so,
All right.
probably around there, right?
So
have we covered everything?
we've covered everything. Do we have any other new business? We had a wide-ranging discussion today.
this
Do you
is a
have any-
long meeting for
I
you.
think
I'm
we
It's a
hit
surprised.
everything.
very long
It's a
meeting for
very
me.
long
I
meeting.
know, I told him I'd be home by 6:30.
I said I'd be home by
Sorry.
That's what I said
I
too.
started late and then I
No.
went long.
I did,
Um,
I'll be home by 6, don't worry. Tim's efficient.
Yeah.
Still efficient, just a lot to talk about.
No,
This is the price we pay for not having a meeting in January.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
but things change.
But this is all good stuff. Hey, Berlin, guess what? Buckle up, giddy up. This is
Yeah.
gonna change.
Things are coming.
Yep, things are coming. Hey, we're gonna be on the lookout to help you with your electric bill. Hey, we're gonna figure out a way to get this information out to you. Hey, here's a grant.
I would be really interested to know if that new specialized code had something for light pollution in it.
I don't know. Don't know.
That is a
That'd be-
zoning article.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but I mean, if they had to shut their lights off at a certain time.
I believe when you have lights, I
Yeah,
believe
tilt
it's
it
supposed
down.
to end at the property
Yeah.
line. It doesn't.
No.
Because they had that issue with Berlin Memorial when the lights went up and all the neighbors were getting glared at.
Well,
Yeah.
we were partially responsible for that because we changed them all out to LED, which made it even brighter. So.
And those have to be tilted.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was some
Stimulators and all that.
there was some
Yeah.
adjustments that were made as a
And they're
result.
looking at putting maybe a sign up at the beginning of the Berlin Memorial Library.
Oh, people are tense about that.
So
Sign up for what?
The lit
a sign that would either, report cards are going out, hey, no school.
Oh,
So.
yeah, no, we've seen that through
Yep.
zoning
The,
board
the video.
Yes.
and planning board.
Mhm.
And,
So this is good timing. You've got a lot of stuff that's going on in town. Get in front of it.
yeah.
All right, we good?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Oh, do you want to
Oh.
make another meeting before you do?
Oh, we probably should do that.
Oh, yeah.
Hey!
Hey, thanks, Peg.
Hey, I gotcha.
At least I'm here now, I can put it in my schedule.
So.
And it's getting lighter later,
Yeah,
so
it's
the next
getting
time we
lighter.
have a meeting, it'll be lighter.
Isn't that wonderful?
So it would.
So
be-
what are we gonna do it, gang? We have we're on the schedule for the first Tuesday,
That was March 5.
which is March 5th. This one was 5:30. We've done 5:30 and 6. I was late today.
We'll forgive
So do we want to stick with the 5:30 or what do we want to do?
I would say aim for 5:30. If you get here late, then we start when you get here.
Fair. Okay, so it'd be 5:30, March 5th, same bat time, same bat channel. Now, we can take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously adjourned at 6:50.
Oof, not bad,
Oh.
not bad.
Oof.
Go grab the little one who's been waiting in my house.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good job, Pete.
Thank